How's it everyone, Grant here, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'll be talking about my first impressions about the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact after about 5 days of use. So this is my 5 days later type of update video here, and I hope to make it a quicker video, but knowing me I'm probably going into a little bit too much detail. But that's because I really want to pack as much information as I can to really help you out, so I really hope this information is helpful to somebody. So we got a lot to cover, so let's just get right into it, and let's start with design. So I really like the XZ1 Compact. I really like how it looks. This has actually exceeded my expectations overall as a phone. And so I was really looking forward to the XZ2 Compact, and I'm glad I didn't skip over the XZ1 because I do believe at $400 this provides a lot of value. And with the design, I'm actually liking this design. As you can see here, some people would consider it a little bit thick, but it's not too bad for me. I'm really happy that I got it in this silver color. It's a very matte silver color, so it doesn't show fingerprints very easily. And it's not very super reflective or glossy, which I really do like, that matte silver color. It has really nice chrome trim there because of that silver color. So you have to see that nice trim around the camera, as well as around the edges at the top and on the bottom there. So really nice detailing there with that chrome trim, and I'm really liking how that looks. And yes, it has some of that big bezel, and that thinner bezel on the 89 display is reserved for the XZ2, but I think it works here on a smaller phone. So I think on the bigger XZ Premium, or maybe even the XZ2, it didn't work out as well. But I think on the compact phone, this isn't so bad. And maybe the one gripe that I'll have about the design is maybe the sharp corners. So you can really feel that poking into the bottom of your hand. But I really felt that more on the XZS or the XZ Premium with some of the bigger phones. So I don't really feel it as much here on the XZ1 Compact, but I do feel it. And so that'd be my maybe one gripe about that design. What I do like is that they moved the volume rockers. So this used to be closer down here next to the camera button on the X Compact, and they moved it up so you don't confuse it with the camera button. It's a more traditional position like other phones above the power button, so that's a nice design change there on the XZ1 Compact. You do have the front-facing speakers, which we'll talk about later, Type-C port there, and you do have the fingerprint scanner enabled on this power button because this is the international version. On the US version, it's not enabled, and I believe there's probably some ADB commands that you can execute to enable that. But obviously I haven't tried it because this is the international version. It is enabled, and as you can see here, it's very nice and quick. The one thing that I'll note here with the fingerprint scanner is that from my update between Nougat to Oreo, this started to function a little bit not as consistently, and so I deleted all my fingerprints and reset them up, and it's been pretty good since then. I will get occasional misfires, but for all you lefties out there who think the fingerprint scanner is not in a good position because it's on the right, my middle finger actually nicely rests there, and if you just press in on the power button, you can see a misfire there, but again, it registered. So I get the occasional misfire. I registered this fingerprint twice because it is the hardest to reach, but it does kind of rest there naturally. And as you can see here, almost every time it's unlocking the phone very nice and quick. So it is good that you can set up your same fingerprint multiple times. And for all you righties out there, your thumb naturally rests there, so you're not going to have any issues with that. So fingerprint scanner is actually really nice and quick here on the XZ1 Compact. So next, let's talk about the display, and like most Sony phones, they pretty much have one of the best, if not the best, LCD displays on the market with their triluminous technology here, and it's no different here on the XZ1 Compact. So this is a 4.6 720p LCD display with triluminous technology, and even though it is only 720p, quote unquote, it actually works pretty well here on a small 4.6 inch display. I don't really have any complaints about the quality of the display, as you can see here. The colors look really nice, and check out my setup video if you want to go more into details about the display quality settings. But the text is pretty nice and sharp considering it's 720p, and that's probably because it is a smaller display. Viewing angles are very good. I don't really have problems with color shifting or anything else in viewing angles. It does get very bright, so I can crank it all the way up, as you can see there, and it's probably a little bit too bright for the camera even. But maybe that gives you a better idea about the viewing angles there. No real problems with color shifting or anything like that with this display. It's a very nice display. It holds up and it's very visible in direct sunlight. So like most Sony phone LCD displays, I don't really have a lot of complaints about this. It looks really nice, and it's definitely one of the better, if not the best, LCD displays on the market today. Next, about performance, and this is where Sony phones are really great. This is running the Snapdragon 835 with 4 gigs of RAM. And like most Sony phones, it's well optimized, as the software for the hardware, and so this thing just absolutely flies. And so if you look here, I can just day-to-day usage and just moving around in the interface is not a problem. And the best thing is, even apps like Twitter, which is kind of image and media heavy, even before the media fully loads, you can still scroll up and down, and it's very fast and fluid. Same with the browser. You can launch a browser and scroll really fast through the browser window before it all officially loads. I can actually go into a page here, like maybe let's just go into GSM Arena here. And as it's loading, I can kind of flick through and you can see here, it didn't even finish loading. And it's really nice and smooth. I can go here and click on a page. Load times are nice and fast. Of course, that's going to depend on your internet speeds. And I am on Wi-Fi, but you can see here, fast and fluid. Moving through, multitasking is not a problem. So performance here on the XZ1 Compact is definitely reminiscent of a flagship phone because it pretty much does have flagship specs and a nice small compact body. So performance absolutely just flies here on this small little compact phone. And then as far as software, it's pretty much very close to stock Android like most Sony phones are. They have a few added features. If you want to check out some of the additional settings, you can go and check out my settings and setup video that I have on this for more information about that. But things that I did not mention in that video that are exclusive to Sony phones here are maybe like their themes. So they do have a theme store here that you can go into. And while it's not as comprehensive as maybe the Samsung or HTC stores, you can actually go in here and get additional themes. You can say get more themes. It'll take you to the theme store. And because it is Sony, they do have some exclusive themes. Like you can go down into here and you've got some things like Battlefront. So Star Wars Battlefront. If you're a gamer, they have some gaming themes. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have a Spider-Man theme in here because of the movies. So if you want, they have some pretty exclusive themes to Sony to customize your device. And that's a nice little feature there. Other software tweaks. The only other one that I didn't cover in my settings and setup video is probably going to be around, so device connection. You can see down here, you can actually add a DualShock controller. So if you want to play games on a small screen, albeit, you can use your DualShock Sony controllers being a Sony phone. And lastly, the most significant one here is going to be Xperia Assistant. So this is kind of like an if this, then that type of feature where it's context aware when you set it up. So you can actually go here into Xperia Actions, and based on kind of the time and the place, you can set certain things to happen. So maybe when you're going to bed, you want to turn off Wi-Fi and put into airplane mode, make it silent. You can do all that in the night settings feature. When you're on your commute and driving during certain times, maybe during your work week, going from a certain place to another place, you can actually set what happens there. Maybe you want to turn your Bluetooth on because it wasn't always on. When you're driving, mute your notifications, etc. You can all do that through the Sony Xperia Actions. So that's a nice little feature. Sony phones have had this for several generations now, but I just thought I'd point that out. If you like that kind of if this and that context and location aware types of automatic settings, you can try to play with this. I don't personally use them, but it is an option here that I thought I would point out as far as software features here on the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact. So moving on to battery life, I've been through about 3 cycles on the XZ1 Compact now, and through the first 50%, this was blowing my mind away in the first day. After 50%, I had 4 hours of screen on time. So I was on pace for 8 hours of screen on time, but it really ended up to be about 6.5 hours of screen on time and about a day and a half of usage. So that was on a weekend, and so that latter 50%, I was pretty much on mobile data, so that may have killed it. The second charge, I got about 7.5 hours of screen on time in the same day and a half. So it really depends on your usage, if you're on Wi-Fi or on your mobile as always, and what apps you're using. So that's true of any phone. But just to let you know, in the first 2 days, I got both a day and a half of usage out of it and anywhere between 5.5 and 6.5 hours of screen on time. On the last charge cycle, I got just under a day and a half, but I did get up to 7 hours of screen on time. So again, just depends on how you use your device, will determine how much you get out of it. But for a 2700 milliamp hour battery, that is pretty awesome. Day and a half battery life, anywhere between 5.5 and 7 hours of screen on time, depending on your network and app usage. That is really impressive. And so Sony's always been really good about optimizing their software to their hardware and really getting good battery life out of their phones. And the XZ1 Compact is no exception. So if you're concerned about the small 2700 milliamp hour battery on this device, maybe combined with a 720p display, it's actually producing some very good battery life. So that's been a very good experience as far as I'm concerned on the XZ1 Compact. So now let's move on to audio quality. And so as far as headphone audio, I went through some of the headphone settings and customizations with the EQ you can do on this in my setup video. So again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but go check that video out if you want to see more on the audio setup options. But when you plug in some headphones and you tweak the EQ to your set liking, it's actually a pretty good sounding phone. You can see here it still has the headphone jack up top, so you can plug in your favorite headphones. And with the custom EQ, it sounds pretty good. It definitely sounds above average. It's still not the best sounding. I think my best sounding smartphones with plugged in headphones are going to be the HTC 10, then the Xiaomi Mi A1, third would be the LG V20, and then fourth would probably be the Sony phone. I think it sounds better than most other phones like Samsung, etc. with plugged-in audio, so it's definitely above average to me because of those EQ settings there. Which, I'll be honest, is still a bit of a disappointment to me given Sony's reputation in portable audio with their Walkmans and everything else. I was really expecting a little bit better, especially since they could leverage the Qualcomm DAC and amp like other phone manufacturers like the HTC 10 and Xiaomi did with the Mi A1. If they are leveraging that, it's not coming through on this device, at least to me. As far as external audio with these dual front-facing speakers, I thought they were going to be disappointing. Most Sony phones with these front-facing little small speakers have been disappointing for a pair of front-facing speakers, but these actually exceeded my expectations. I don't know if it's my ears, but I don't think they changed the speaker setup, but it actually doesn't sound too bad. I can go here and play one of my videos here, the S8 versus the XZ Premium. It's got some audio on here, and we can kind of go and listen to that. And I'll crank this all the way up. So there's just a quick sample of the audio on the front-facing speakers, and I did put them up against other phones like the iPhone 10 and Galaxy S9 Plus, which I think are probably the best set of speakers on a smartphone today, and this is pretty close. It probably got close and got very close to matching it in loudness, but it's definitely lacking in sound separation and some of the fidelity and richness that those other phones have. But I still thought it sounded better than Sony phones as far as my memory can recollect. And so I was still fairly impressed. The volume was right up there. It just didn't have the kind of depth of sound and sound separation like some of the other phones like the iPhone 10 and Galaxy S9 Plus. As far as other things like connectivity, so calling and messaging has been pretty good. I don't really have any complaints there, but if I run into anything, I'll let you know in the final review. It does have NFC, it has dual band Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that has been fine to this point. So no real issues with connectivity through the first 5 days. Things like lifestyle features, you're not going to get wireless charging on this, but you are going to get water and dust resistance. So this is Ingress certified. It has an IP certification of IP68, which is pretty much the highest certification on any smartphone right now, I believe. So it's protected against dust and it's water resistant. So you can go ahead and dunk this in water, take it in the shower, and it should be fine. Of course, not salt water. That would probably just fry the device. But you do have some nice water protection and water resistance on the XZ1 Compact. And lastly, let's take a look at the camera. You can actually have a dedicated camera quick launch app there and shutter button. If you actually press down half on that shutter, it'll actually, if I can get this on camera, it'll actually go ahead and focus when you press down half, and then when you press down fully, it'll take the shot. So shutter speed is actually pretty quick for a Sony phone. As you can see here, it's a little bit slower because of the more dim lighting, but it's actually pretty quick, and it's faster than I recalled most Sony phones being. And it actually exceeded my expectations as far as photo quality. I haven't really taken a lot of videos, but I'll definitely do that before the full review. But photo quality has been pretty good. I'll show you some samples coming up here. And so the nice thing about this one is if you actually swipe to get to the front camera here, you can see here it has an ultra-wide front camera mode. So if you want group selfies or just to fit a lot more in the photo, you can actually tap that button. It goes into wide camera mode there. So that's a very nice feature here for the XZ1 Compact. You have a wide camera angle here on your front-facing camera. Would have been nice to get a wide-angle camera on the rear, but hey, if you want group selfies, that's the way to do it there. And additional features here, video. You can actually capture 1080p 60 frames per second as well as 4K. I'll test that out more before the full review, like I said. And you've got, just like other Sony cameras, you got some camera apps here with AR Effect, which will have a bunch of different kind of AR stickers that you can actually place things on objects like your table here, or they'll have masks that you can use for the front-facing selfie camera like some other phones. You've got panorama mode, creative effects, and sound photo if you want to add audio to your photos. What's missing here is bokeh mode, so you're not gonna get a portrait mode here on the XZ1 Compact, which is unfortunate, but you do get that on newer phones like the XZ2 Compact. And lastly, you do have a pro mode or a manual mode here, so you have full control over a bunch of the camera settings there. So if you want to go into manual mode, you can definitely do that there. But like I said, the camera for still photos has definitely exceeded my expectations. But that's pretty much going to do it for my first impressions, the first 5 days of using the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact. Like I said in the beginning, for $400 or less, you're getting a flagship specs with really great performance, an above average camera, and I didn't mention this, but the camera can do super slow motion, 960 frames per second, super slow-mo in 720p, just like the Galaxy S9, Galaxy S9 Plus, and the Sony Xperia XZ and XZ Premium before it. So that's a nice feature there on the camera. And overall, I just think it's a very good buy if you're looking for a flagship spec'd out phone in a very compact body here in 2018. So all that being said, you know where to leave your questions or comments, and stay tuned, enjoy the photos, and as always, thanks for watching.